Let's go ahead and look at some of the numbers that are coming over here because we continue to talk about what is happening in Michigan. 52% reporting. Bernie Sanders continues to lead Hillary Clinton by only 2% in that vote. It's, quite frankly, had a lot of people talking earlier in the evening where the words upset, comeback, a lot of these words being used to basically say that Bernie Sanders was getting exactly what he said he could do. However, here's something else to keep in mind. Hillary Clinton leads in only 11 of Michigan's 83 counties. 2 of them, though, are Wayne and Oakland County. And Wayne County is the one that we are still waiting on at this point that encompasses Detroit. Also, a lot of these things are proportional. So if Bernie or Hillary wins, it really is still a good night for them both at this point. So we still have to wait and see what happens with the numbers here. Again, Wayne County is turning out to be the big gun tonight. Idaho is coming up a little bit later on. That's a state to watch as well. But in case you're joining us late, Donald Trump has already taken victory in Mississippi and in Michigan. He has basically told people that this is the reason why everybody else needs to get out. And, of course, he's already said earlier this week he can't wait to get Ted Cruz one-on-one. He may just get his wish very soon. All right. Now, seeing as Super Tuesday is already behind us, let us then, we'll call this Teutonic Tuesday, and get back to our coverage right here on Newsmax. And go ahead and welcome back the senior political editor at Forbes.com, co-host of Steele and Ungar on Sirius XM POTUS 124, Rick Ungar, and new to the discourse this evening, the former Democratic senatorial aide and current contributor at TheHill.com, Brent Budowsky, looking mighty sharp in that leather jacket there, I might say, my friend. All right, Brent, seeing as you're brand new here, let's bring you in on this because we talked a little bit about what is happening in Michigan right here. And again, there is still this big thinking process. Hillary Clinton, it's still so close. Why is it so close? Because there were so many people who said Michigan should go for Hillary.
Well, first of all, I think if it plays out the way it appears to be, where Bernie will do stronger than expected, whether he narrowly wins or loses by a reasonably close margin, this will be played as a big victory for Bernie. I think a major part of it, to the degree he's doing well, and he is that he is strong on trade. He is very strong on trade. Now, I want to make one correction about the trade issue, the bailout issue. When Hillary said in the debate that Bernie voted against the bailout, she was dead flat wrong. And I want to be clear about that. There were actually 2 votes on the bailout. Bernie voted for the original vote that was the auto bailout. He was for it. He was strongly for it. Hillary shouldn't have said that he wasn't for it. What she said was not true. I suspect that the local media in Michigan played that up much more than the national media. And it's local TV that has a lot more impact because they have hours to fill. So his position on trade definitely helped him. I think his populist attacks on Wall Street helped him in Michigan. There's a lot of economic anxiety in Michigan above the national average. People are looking for a voice to speak for them. Now, I do suspect that when all is said and done, you've got some more big black wards to come in, and that'll help Hillary. You've also got some college places to come in, and that'll help Bernie. But net, I think Hillary probably wins. But Bernie did much stronger, it appears, than expected. And I think he's going to get a boost out of it. And it's because he is seen as the true populist and the true fighter for working people. But don't believe what they said about the auto bailout vote. Bernie was for it. What he opposed was the second vote when they linked it to the Wall Street bailout.
All right,
that is the fact.
Let's get to that. That's a very good point in here. And Rick, I'm going to come to you on this. Brent, I'm going to bounce back to you here in just a moment. But Rick, to you. Hillary Clinton is a seasoned politician. She has people behind her who are seasoned politicians, seasoned in how to run campaigns. They know what they're up against here right now. It seems to me as if Hillary Clinton coming out and making such a gaffe there, also making a gaffe on the head of the Environmental Protection Agency, not wanting them to step down after what happened in Flint, and a couple of other gaffes. Look, I don't want to use the word panic here, Rick, because that's not fair. But it certainly seems to me that somebody as well-versed as Hillary Clinton should be better than this. She shouldn't be making what are really egregious mistakes here, which says to me, and I'm going to use some of my sports background here, there's a little bit of that. You can hear footsteps coming up behind you, and every now and then you kind of get a little nervous.
Yeah, I got to tell you, Ed, we're getting our facts mixed up here a little bit, so let me take a minute to straighten that. And by the way, because I don't have a monitor tonight, you got to tell me if Brent has a cigar.
He does not.
Brent.
Not at the moment.
What is Brent Budowsky without a cigar? I couldn't be more disappointed. All right, look, first of all, Brent is absolutely right that Bernie Sanders did vote for the auto bailout. What happened was it wasn't just that part of the auto money was attached to the second Wall Street bailout, which he's also right about. It was. But what happened was there was an effort made, mostly by Republicans. It was paid in tranches, that entire bank bailout thing. And there were a lot of people ticked off about the bailout, and somewhere along the way, there was a tranche about to be paid. It included auto money, and Bernie voted to stop it from being paid. So she was technically right. I don't disagree with Brent in terms of the real truth, but we have to note that. Secondly, I don't know where you're coming around on the EPA thing. The EPA regional director who was responsible for what happened or the role that the EPA played in Flint left office, resigned a couple months ago. So,
no, but there's Gina McCarthy. The question at the CNN debate was, should Gina McCarthy, the head of the EPA, step down? And basically Hillary Clinton evaded the whole thing here. And there are people who believe that she is unwilling to hold a Democrat to the same standard of accountability that she demanded of the Republican. That's what that issue's about.
Well, you could say that, but I don't agree with Hillary on a lot of things, but I wouldn't expect Gina McCarthy to step down because an EPA administrator in that region who has stepped down, and mostly a governor who didn't handle it the way he should have. You know, you can make a big fuss about it, but boy, if you want to pick on Hillary, there's a lot better stuff than that.
No, I agree.
Let me say, you might want to be careful on this projection. You know, I've lived in Oakland County, Michigan. I know who's voting there. I know Wayne County. I lived there a long time. I promise you, most of those votes are not in yet. I'm actually fascinated that Hillary's doing so well in Oakland County, which is out in the suburbs and can be a bit more conservative. She's going to probably win Michigan by quite a few points. Dick said he wouldn't be surprised if she won by 10.
Okay.
That might be a little bit high, but I think you're going to see a different story than what you think.
Here's what's coming up right now. Just in 61% reporting, Bernie Sanders has 21,000 more votes than Hillary at this point, leading 50 to 47%. That's the latest we have. At about 2 minutes ago, let's see, closing the gap.
21,000 is nothing if it doesn't include Wayne.
You're exactly right. We still have to wait for Wayne County. We're going to continue to make that point all night long. But let me get back to the point that I was making here about Hillary. You're right on everything else, but I'm going to pin you down on this. Shouldn't a seasoned politician like Hillary Clinton, with all those people behind her, be better at going up against a guy like Bernie Sanders than she is doing right now? It's that footsteps behind you thinking.
No,
Really?
Look, Bernie Sanders has done an awesome job, particularly in appealing to the attention of the young voters. I mean, Hillary's got a lot of problems ahead of her because those young voters are very loyal to Bernie. Nobody saw Bernie's campaign coming, but here it is. I'm not sure you can blame that on the political skills of Hillary Clinton, although I'll be the first to tell you, I've never thought Hillary Clinton's political skills are all that great.
I think we're all going to agree on that. Well, not all of us. We're not all going to agree, but most of us will. You're right.
But she is going to win the nomination. I mean, if the only thing she's running against now is the FBI. Assuming the FBI can't beat her, she's going to win the nomination. I don't think that's a secret.
Okay, let me get back to you then, Brent, because I'm going to pose the same question, let you chime in on this as well, about being better at it. And everybody is here right. Rick's right. Bernie Sanders didn't just come out of nowhere. It's not like he materialized mystically. Everybody knew he was there. They know what he's about. But there are those people who believe that Hillary should have been better prepared, could have been better prepared, but there's too much going on right now in the background, and she simply has lost a little focus here when a guy like Bernie Sanders, those people believe, snuck up on her, when we know that's not the case.
Well, I think, first of all, she may have too many people giving her advice, especially out of Brooklyn. And I do think that has confused and muddled the picture from her point of view. She's also locked in ways I would not have recommended going overboard, that she wants to run Obama's third term. Now, when she campaigns that way, she can't criticize Obama on anything. And that has created a kind of a trust gap because she says things that aren't always straight for that reason. Now, let me, on the other hand, I do want to strongly disagree with something that Dick Morris said earlier when he said that if Trump runs against Hillary in the general, and I by no means am convinced he will. But if he does, he'll have a sword of Damocles over Bill Clinton, over the women. Now, let me correct him about that. Point one, you think there's a sword of Damocles over Hillary Clinton about the women. You watch the meat axe over Donald Trump about women that the media has given him a free pass on. Number one. Number two, in brief, as you get closer to the general election, when you've got 104 Republican security advisors worried that Donald Trump would start World War III because he's so reckless on military stuff, Bill Clinton's credibility as a president who was successful will take a proportionately greater weight the closer you get to the election. He was a very good president. And as you get closer to the election and voting as to who you want on the nuclear button, I think Bill Clinton is a major asset. They ain't going to worry about Paula Jones. They're going to worry about Donald Trump blowing up the world, and they're going to worry about some of Donald Trump's women issues that CNN and NBC and the others have given him a pass on so far. So I think it's a wide open game we got now. Bernie will come at it today. He'll lose, I think, tonight, probably, but he'll come out stronger than he went in today because he'll have credibility of running well, win or lose, but well, in a big Midwestern state.
All right, I got about 60 seconds left. This is to both of you now. One of the statements Donald Trump made tonight in his victory speech was he talked about the polls, and he said, and I'm paraphrasing here now, I'm leading in most polls against Hillary. A lot of polls have me leading against Hillary Clinton. We could find one, the USA Today Suffolk poll as recent, but we can't find any other poll that has Donald Trump leading. So, Brent, without having to go ahead, and you've already made your point very clear with what you've just done there, but is it not fair to say that he's just feeding the base? That's what they want to hear.
Well, what it tells me is he's lying through his teeth, which he does fairly often. I'm working on a column on this where I'm actually going to document through Real Clear Politics matchup polls that I commend to everybody's attention why Bernie runs stronger than Hillary and Bernie runs stronger than any of the Republicans in matchups. But I'll tell you, you look at the polls of Hillary versus Trump, there's a lot of blue and ain't much red in those matchups. And when Donald says that, anybody in our audience can go to Real Clear Politics, look up the matchup. When he says he's running well against Hillary, he is lying through his teeth.
15 seconds to you. Final word, Rick.
Well, I don't know. Did he actually say that? I was so captivated by his Trump steaks and Trump vineyards and how John Kluge owned them because that's very relevant to being president. I might have missed him saying that. Of course, Brent is right. I mean, yeah, there's one poll that has said that. I think we can say it's an outlier. He was indeed lying through his teeth.
By the way, I'm sure we can get a Trump steak somewhere in D.C. Rick Ungar and Brent Budowsky, gentlemen, always a pleasure to have you on the show. We'll see you on the Hardline weeknights right back here on Newsmax. Thanks for joining us, guys. Stay with us. Our special election coverage continues right here.